Can you share how you and Josh met?
We met in July and we were married the following June.
Get out.
To be honest, like when I first met Josh, he said, I'm gonna be a ranger. I didn't know what the hell a ranger was, you know? And once I realized what he really was doing, I mean, I was always scared about it, but I also recognized that the best thing I can do is just to be the best support he has back home.
In the end, you're sacrificing too, though. That's a lot to ask. You found out that you were expecting your first child. And then 1 week later, you find out then that Josh is catastrophically injured.
All I wanted to make sure was that he was coming home. I would take him back however I could get him. It was devastating. It was really difficult.
Hello and welcome to GSF Podcast, sponsored by the Gary Sinise Foundation's Education and Outreach Initiative, aiming to educate the public on the importance of serving America's veterans, first responders, and their families.
Welcome to the Gary Sinise Foundation podcast. I'm your host, Cristin, and today we have Taylor Hargis joining us. Taylor is an advanced emergency medical technician, or EMT, serving her local community here in Tennessee. She's also the wife of wounded veteran Josh Hargis, who has been on this podcast and is one of our Rise Home recipients. Taylor's journey has been one of immense resilience and compassion, supporting her husband's harrowing recovery, raising awareness about the challenges military families face, and serving as a first responder. Welcome, Taylor.
Hello.
Yes, I'm so excited. Like I was saying earlier, it's just, I'm just very, very excited to be able to talk with you.
Me too.
This has been a long time coming.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yes, of course. So you've had such an incredible journey. It's almost hard to kind of pick out a place to start. But you and Josh have faced something that most could not even imagine. And at the center of it all is a story of love and perseverance. And it's almost that started from the moment you two met. So can you share how you and Josh met?
Yeah, so we had kind of a clandestine meeting, I feel like.
It's a strong word, okay.
Everything fell into place, I guess, right place, right time. So Josh is from Cincinnati, I'm from Southwest Florida, and our paths crossed in Georgia. And my older brother was graduating from basic training, and Josh was in the middle of basic training. And in the middle of it, they get this 36-hour pass called the Family Leave Pass. And we just happened to be staying at the same hotel, and we're all out at the pool at the same time one day, and our eyes met, and I was just really zoned in, probably a lot more forward than I ever have been in my life. But I don't know, from the moment he finally sat down and started talking to me, because all of his friends were talking to me and he was kind of playing cool, hard to get a little bit, but he would pipe in occasionally from time to time. He'd, correct somebody on something, or one of the guys kept forgetting my name and he was like, her name's Taylor. And I was like, oh, so you are listening.
Oh, interesting.
And, we literally just talked that whole night and spent the whole night getting to know each other. And then the next day he was supposed to go back. And I gave him my address and said, do you want to write to me? And he did. And neither of us were looking for that at the time. It just happened to be that way. And then, every day after, I was checking the mailbox. And eventually I got a letter, and he called, and we just kind of spent time getting to know each other through writing letters. And
how beautiful.
I really did just instantly fall in love with him.
Really?
And my parents were like, excuse me, you are 19. You are not marrying some guy in the Army that you do not know. And I was like, I think I am.
I think this is happening. It almost sounds like a movie.
Yeah, I don't really know how to describe it. I just felt so confident in the fact that, no, we did not really know each other that well. And we didn't know each other's backgrounds. We really just had this like common ground of whatever happens, I really want to go through it with you. And so we met in July, and we were married the following June.
Get out. You just knew. Even it seems like from the moment you spotted him. So you do believe in like love at first sight.
I do now.
Yeah, you do now, exactly.
Yeah.
So Josh was, he was starting his career. He was in his career right then. What challenges did you face just spending so much time apart?
Well, so obviously initially when he was in basic training, there's limited communication.
Yeah.
And then it was an 8-hour drive for me to go up to visit him. So he went from basic training to airborne.
Okay.
And, they're pretty busy, but he always found the time to call me. And
he made it a priority.
Yeah. And we would spend, all night talking on the phone. I know he must have just been dog tired the next day.
Didn't matter.
And I would like drive up on weekends when I could to see him, and he came down to meet my family. I think it was around Thanksgiving, but that first year, he went from basic to airborne to RASP, and RASP, there's almost no communication at all, so it was a lot of little amounts of time together. Yeah. So honestly, the most time we'd ever spent together before we moved in together after we were married, I think was like tops a week and a half.
Wow.
Was like the most time we'd ever spent together in like the same place. And, it just kind of continued like that because even when he was in regiment and we were living there both together, their training cycle is so intense that they're gone a lot, and then they deploy every 7 months for 4 months at a time. So I think especially when you're young and you have that like really strong infatuation type love, it doesn't, I never felt comfortable allowing like little things to become big things, I think, because I recognized that we had limited time together. Oh. So I think it made our connection that much more intense too. I think when you have, love under fire kind of like that, you either really buckle down and make it work, or you see the cracks and you go like, I don't know if that's correct. Yeah.
That makes total sense right there. You're either going to make it or you're not, and you're going to know quickly.
Yeah.
So I think it's hard for some people, especially on the outside looking in, to understand how like deployments work. So can you share about what it was like having Josh on like overseas or deployed?
So his first deployment, we were not married yet. Okay. We were engaged, and I was still living at home. I to be honest, like when I first met Josh, he said, I'm going to be a Ranger. I didn't know what the hell a Ranger was, So like, I was just like, you were not a part of like the military community, or this wasn't like something. Yeah, your brother, but I mean. My brother was in, but he went EOD, and then I have an uncle who was Special Forces, so like I had some understanding of the military, but I did not know what Ranger Regiment was. I didn't know anything really. I was not the spouse that like wore my husband's rank or something, like I was not overly involved in the FRG. Like that was Josh's job, and I was his spouse. But so that first deployment, they moved around a lot. And so communication, he would always do his best to let me know like, hey, you're not going to hear from me for a little bit or something like that. But Josh's deployments, for the most part, every single one of them, he called me every night. So it was hard, but I I don't know, I think the way I grew up maybe kind of set me up in a position to be okay with change and understanding the inherent risk of danger. Just having my parents both be police officers, you know, like there was always that kind of thing. There was always change. And I just kind of really took on the role of like, I need to support him and make sure that he knows that everything's fine back home and like, I got this. So I really made it a point to make sure that when I did talk to him, it was the best conversations we could have. You know, like we tried very hard to put any sort of irritation or things like that on the back burner until he got home.
You're still savoring. It's like almost in the beginning, you were kind of savoring each moment. The same thing happens too when he's deployed.
But it was very scary. I mean, I always knew, once I realized what a Ranger was, and once I realized what he really was doing, I mean, I was always scared about it, but I also recognized that, like, I have no control over that situation, and the best thing I can do is just to be the best support he has back home.
Yeah. In the end, you're sacrificing too, though. You know, that's a lot to ask, and that's a lot of stress. Yeah. So how much were you allowed to know?
I don't know, because I asked what I felt like needed to be asked. You know, I didn't really push him on stuff that was above me anyway. You know, like Josh would tell me what I needed to know in order to know when I would be talking to him or, you know, the areas that he was in type thing. But like I said, I recognized that it was Josh's job and it was not my job. And I wasn't there and I had no control. And I think knowing too much is a very dangerous game sometimes, even though I have a very investigative type mind, you know?
I do too.
But yeah, I think subconsciously I recognized that too much information would really overload me in a way that would be really detrimental to me, like making my day-to-day go well.
That makes a lot of sense. And especially if you're just trying to focus on those moments when you have with him, just for those to be special. Yeah. So in 2013, you found out that you were expecting your first child. And then 1 week, right? Is it 1 week later, you find out then that Josh is catastrophically injured. Can you walk us through when you found out?
Yeah. So, yeah, I think it was about 7 days, maybe like between 7 to 10 days or something like that. So like I said, Josh called me every night before bed without fail. And on this particular deployment, he was able to be really consistent with that. And we were not planning a pregnancy. You know, I didn't want my kids to go through the struggle of being afraid for their parents' safety, because that was very difficult for me.
You went through that.
Yeah. So, you know, it was a shock. Also, I'm 22, you know, and Josh and I, like I said, we had very limited time together when he was home. So we were still very much in that like new, you know, newlywed type phase.
Yes.
Even though it had been a few years. But yeah, so I was at work and I had missed a phone call from him. He was just calling to check on me to see how I felt. And he said he'd call me later. And I went to a friend's house whose husband was deployed with Josh. And we had dinner, and I hadn't heard from him. And I had asked her, you know, like, hey, have you heard from your husband? And she was like, yeah, we were talking on Facebook Messenger earlier, but he signed off really abruptly and said I had to go. And I just knew in that moment, like, oh, shit, what was that, you know? And so I just kind of stared at my phone all night. And I was very, very apprehensive about 10 o'clock at night, because I recognized, like, he's not calling, you know? And the only reason he wouldn't call is if he couldn't. And that was a very difficult night, just the not knowing. I stayed up all night. I had called and texted multiple people, like, hey, have you heard from your husband? Or, and they hadn't. And I was just refreshing news cycle after news cycle, just trying to see something. I called my uncle, you know, who was in, and was like, hey, do you have any information about this area? And he's like, listen, if something happened, they'd be at your house. And I was like, I know. And eventually a little scroll popped up at the bottom of, I think it was Al Jazeera News, and it said, 4 U.S. coalition soldiers killed in roadside bomb. And my heart just sank. And I called my brother, who is EOD, and I told him, and I said, I think it's Josh. And he said, Taylor, it's not how Rangers move, first of all. And he's like, you need to just wait. And just a few minutes after that, I got a call from a strange number, but it wasn't the number that Josh had been calling me from. And I just hoped that he moved or was, it was just a different number. And I answered. I said, hello, and they said, is this Josh Hargis, his wife? And I said, yeah. And they said, are you sitting down?
Oh.
And they just started listing his injuries. They said, your husband was catastrophically wounded. He stepped on a dismounted IED, which resulted in bilateral amputations of his legs, fractured pelvis. And, at a certain point, it was just noise. And they finished rattling off his injuries. And I said, is he going to be okay? And they said, he's in critical but stable condition at this time. And they would not say at this time. And I asked them who else was hurt, and they couldn't tell me. I said who was killed, and they wouldn't tell me. I asked if his dog was killed, and they wouldn't tell me. And they said, well, do you have anybody that can come sit with you? And I said, all my friends are wives. So if I can't know, I guess I can't talk to them, And all I wanted to make sure was that he was coming home. I would take him back however I could get him. His injuries were of no importance to me at that point in time. I just wanted to know. I just wanted to hear somebody say that he was coming home. And the next day I was supposed to have my first ultrasound appointment to hear Mittlin's heartbeat. And I just couldn't even be happy or excited about that. I just couldn't think past a life without him. It was devastating. It was really difficult.
Josh shared on his podcast episode that the one thing he wanted to do was to get back to you and his unborn child. That was what was driving him. But he was afraid that he was going to come back broken. What was it like when you finally heard or saw him?
It was such a huge relief. Josh spent several days waiting to talk to me. And, I called all the time to ask, because he was going in and out of surgeries, and asked, is he awake? Can he talk? And nobody said he can't talk right now, but I just didn't know, and he had said that he was just afraid to talk to me. And I think because it would have made it a little more real. But my brother had tried to prepare me before I talked to him because we were gonna video call. And he was like, listen, train your face a little bit because he might not look like him and you don't wanna make him feel bad. And I was like, I know, I got it. And pulled up the webcam and he was just as handsome as ever.
Like, what?
I know. And I was just so relieved to just see his face and to see his smile and just to reassure him that I will help you through whatever we have to get through. I just need you to come back. It was a huge relief just to hear his voice. The whole night, when I did not hear from him and I was worried that it was him, I kept trying to picture him coming home. I kept trying to picture him playing with our baby. I kept trying to put that positive into the universe and try and speak it into existence because I was so terrified that I would not get it. So seeing him was just a massive relief for me.
It was like an answer to that prayer. I want to talk about the famous photo, the salute seen around the world. Can you tell me about that photo?
Yeah, so when I went to go meet Josh at CMC, the team there had handed me this envelope and said, this came for you. And it had an amazing letter attached to it and that picture. I obviously had no idea that sharing it was going to become what it was. When I saw it, all it did was reaffirm for me what I knew about Josh, which was that he's a badass, He's strong, he's a Ranger, he's my husband, and I'm so proud of him. And at the time, I think when I shared it, I had this feeling of, you scroll through your social media and you see that the world spins on for everybody else, even when it stopped for you. And I just really, I wanted people to pay attention to the fact that Josh was not the only one injured. There was 4 families that did not get their loved one back. There was 2 other families that had catastrophically wounded loved ones. We're still asking this, and they're still coming home maimed, or they're not coming home at all. And I was frustrated that it just seemed to be a blip in everyone else's life, I think, really. And I just wanted everyone to see how proud I was of him.
And the photos, so just for those that are listening, is of Josh in his hospital bed, and he's got tubes, and he's like intubated, and I mean, it's a hard photo to look at. And what's so beyond inspiring, if there's a word, is he's got his Purple Heart pinned on him, and he somehow, it looks like he's unconscious, actually. It looks like he has to be unconscious, but he's rendering a salute.
Yeah, and having a little bit of medical background now, that would shock me if someone who was intubated did that. But his nurse actually reached out to me, one of the nurses that was there, and said that initially they thought he was seizing or something was going really wrong, because he started fighting them, like pulling against the bandages in his, and then they realized what he was doing.
It's incredible. What did that photo, like that moment and seeing it, what did it mean to you?
It just meant that my husband was still in there.
He's not lost, he's not gone, he's there. He's there, and that is beautiful. How long was he in the hospital for then?
In total, before he was discharged? Well, he was in Germany for like 10 days post-injury, which was very, very difficult because at the time, they were not flying families over to be with their loved ones. And that was really frustrating, and it was horrible to hear him struggle to not have me there. That really killed me. And then he came back and he was at CMC, and I'm trying to think of how long he was actually in the hospital for, because it was not very long, to be honest. And he really pushed to get discharged. He really wanted to come home. He was
motivated.
Yeah. He was home before Thanksgiving.
Oh, wow.
So maybe a couple of months.
He knew. He's like, I need to go home.
Yes, but that meant that that I was going to be responsible for all of the medications and the appointments and the wound care and all of that. And I was very nervous about that.
How did you juggle that with also a newborn?
Well, so that portion of it, like the medical portion of it, where I was really like responsible for, his shots and his medication and his appointments, and the wound care was the part that was like most involved. I was still pregnant.
Oh, wow.
So it was more just, morning sickness, battling that. And then he had massive wound vacs, and he had really, really bad burns up the back of his leg with, wounds that needed to be packed, and the dressings needed to be changed daily. And so that was more during my pregnancy.
You're growing a baby, and you're just doing all the wound care, everything.
A lot of it, yeah.
And then you have the baby, and now you're caregiver doesn't stop.
No.
And so now you're doing both.
Mm-hmm.
Did you sleep at all?
No.
Was there any?
Not well. I mean, and there was times where, you know, I would just stay up and watch Josh breathe because he wasn't breathing right, you know, and I would take him in to the ER, and there was one time where, like, I had to take him in several times before they were like, oh, yeah, that is happening. That's a problem. Like, it was just, it was scary because he had come home, but the risk of infection was still so high that an infection could kill him after he came home. And that was always a huge fear of mine, you know? So, like, in the beginning, yes, the emotional struggle is really difficult in watching him deal with going through all of that. But you have these little battles that you fight initially because you have to make sure that he just survives it.
He just lives.
And so initially making sure that the medications were correct, making sure that I was doing everything exactly on the schedule that I was told to do it on. And, you know, just balancing all of that was my main, like, concern. That was my main worry, because I was so worried that he would just get an infection or the medications wouldn't be correct or something like that.
That's incredible. We just had U.S. Navy SEAL, he's wounded, Jason Redman, and he shared some statistics with us that were kind of shocking. It's actually very shocking. And he said that most marriages, especially in the military and first responder communities, don't survive. How have you guys maintained such a strong relationship through it all?
So we were told that statistic too.
You were
like
told
when
that?
he,
Okay.
you know, first came home, we were made aware of the fact that that was a statistic, which I don't know. It really didn't affect me at all, because I didn't really give a shit about anybody's statistics. I was going to do whatever I needed to do, but it did. Once the reality set in of I am now his caregiver, that I think is probably the hardest struggle. One, it was hard for him to lean on me and to accept my help. So that was an initial battle. And then two, to balance, how do you balance being someone's partner when you are doing all of these things for them? And how do you make sure that they know that you're okay with doing it? And so there was a lot, I mean, there was struggles, obviously, no matter how much I love him and how much he loves me. Every relationship has struggles, and then you add on top of it a baby, and you add on top of it, you know, these really massive life-changing injuries. And then also you add on top of it, that's the most time we have ever spent together, because he was constantly away training or deployed. So you have all of these things compounding, and we're in a new state, and we don't have, you know, our regular support group around us.
How do you survive that?
Yeah, I mean, my mom helped immensely. My mom came out and helped me with, you know, just basic things like groceries and laundry and things like that. But it was obviously a struggle. I mean, you just can't go through that without it. But I don't know. I just felt like there were times where I felt like Josh needed a little bit of tough love, and there was times where he just needed me to be more sensitive. And I think through it all, he just needed to know that I wasn't going anywhere. And I was not going anywhere.
At the core of it, that's it.
Yeah. When he said, I'm going to be a Ranger, I said, okay. When he re-enlisted, I said, okay. You know, that's just what you do when you love somebody. You know, it's really hard for me to accept when people say, like, oh, wow, you know, such an amazing wife, or what. I just love my husband. At the end of the day, I didn't feel like I had a choice but to do the things that needed to be done. And I didn't do them perfectly, you know.
It's not about perfection, though.
But I just, I mean, we knew the statistic, we heard the statistic, and we watched it happen to people around us. You know, it is a very difficult balance. But I think also Josh's determination to find a new normal and his strength in pushing himself to get better and pushing himself to relearn these things, it also showed me his level of commitment, you know, to our partnership, because he wanted to be a partner again too. He didn't want me to feel like I was caring for him all of the time. And yeah, I think you both have to put in the work and you both have to do what's necessary to get to where you want to be. And then obviously having Waylon really put things into perspective for us.
Yeah. How did that shift things?
Well, we were very young parents. It shifted the world beneath our feet again.
Yeah.
You know, it just was one of those things where you're just like, the amount of responsibility we have to this child to get our shit together, you know, quite frankly, and just make sure that we are giving him the best start in life as well. I mean, it really puts things into perspective.
Yeah. Well, Josh told us, I'm going to read this, without Taylor's unwavering support, I'd simply be lost. This is going to make me choke, okay. She has endured more than anyone ever should and has brought me back from the depths of despair when life seemed unrelenting. She's been my friend, wife, caretaker, advocate, confidant, and mother to our children. The struggles have been immense, but have tempered our relationship through the years. What does it mean to hear those words?
I truly could not picture my life without him. The fear I felt when I thought I would never get him back was unlike anything I could ever imagine. And how grateful I felt the minute I got to see him and hold him again and just be around him was a relief that I also don't have anything to compare to. He is so strong and so brave. He rarely complains. You know, he pushes himself to do things that you would think are not possible and also probably not safe. But he just doesn't understand the word quit. It is just not. It is not in his vocabulary, and it's one of the things that drew me to him. It's one of the things that I admire the most about him. And through everything we've been through, I'm so grateful for the love that we have. I don't know what I did to get so lucky and to find him so early in my life. But he's the best dad. He's the best husband. I mean, he's such a good example of what a man is. He's such a good example of what a partner is. It means a lot to hear those words.
Yeah. I think most people don't often think about what the families are going through of those who serve. And, you know, it's Josh, of course, but it's also the whole family. I'm just grateful that you're sharing that. It's just, it just means a lot to me personally. So, okay. In November of 2024, thanks to our supporters, many of them listening, the Gary Sinise Foundation handed you and Josh and your boys the keys and iPad to your own specially adapted smart technology home. What was that like?
That was overwhelming.
Yeah.
First of all, just obviously the house is so perfect for us. You know, it's beautiful, but the support that we felt was just incredible. I mean, that was not a shock, I guess, but I don't know, it was lovely, first of all. To see my boys' reaction, you know, to see them, because they've never, when Josh was injured, obviously I had shared the salute and, you know, there was some attention that was brought on us because of that. But our boys have not experienced that. They haven't had the visual of people expressing their appreciation towards their dad. How did
they react?
Oh my gosh, so cute. I mean, first of all, I'm biased, obviously, but our boys are sweet, okay? There's just no way around it. They're sweet kids. At the Walls of Honor ceremony, there was a point where I think Pete was talking, and I looked over, and Waylon was crying. And I didn't expect that, I guess. I don't know what his level of understanding was about, all of it. But it was just so from the heart, it was just so heartwarming. And then when they first walked in the house and you can just see them both, like just the excitement and the happiness, and that was just incredible. And I really was appreciative that our boys got to experience that, just seeing people express their appreciation for their dad's sacrifice. Yeah. That was really important to me. Because they hadn't seen it. Like there's little things here and there, but not like that. That was pretty incredible. Yeah. That was amazing. And then obviously getting in the house and just how comfortable it was. We obviously recognized that there was challenges in the home that we had. And Josh, more than anybody.
In the previous home.
Yes, recognized that and felt that. But I think even that first morning, he woke up and going to the sink to brush his teeth was just so easy. I mean, what a revelation, it should not be difficult to do that in your own home. But I think even Josh was surprised at like just the amount of obstacles there were in the other house. That was a huge relief. Yeah. A huge relief.
Has the new house smell worn off yet?
No, I don't think so. Not really. That's a lot of wood in that house. There's a lot of hardwood floors, okay?
They're beautiful.
They are gorgeous, but no, I don't think it's worn off yet. But the kids are doing their best to wear that down, let me tell you.
They're working their magic.
Yes, the Legos are everywhere, the dart's everywhere.
Legos.
They're doing a really good job of wearing it in for us really quickly.
Good.
But no, the new house is awesome. It's so cool to just look in the backyard and see Josh throwing the football to the boys, and they're doing football practice there. And, it's been amazing. Yeah. We cannot express our gratitude enough. Like there are just not enough words to express it.
Yeah. How has the new house impacted like your day-to-day lives? I mean, you touched on that with Josh, but like for all of you in a way.
It's just easier.
Yeah.
Life is just easier when you don't have to worry about, one, is your husband safe in the home because he's not having to, do acrobatics to get to something.
You have to think about his own safety.
Yeah. And when we moved into the house before this, we really looked for a ranch-style home, which was very difficult to find here. And so we had to compromise and go, okay, well, let's have at least 2 bedrooms on the first floor, because if I wasn't home at night or wherever and there was an emergency, how would Josh get to the boys? So that was always a consideration, how safe is this? So to just have that off your shoulders is pretty incredible. Yeah. Day-to-day life is just easier. It's just easier in a home that you fit in fine. It's just easier in a home where you can get into the bathroom and the shower or cook at the stove. Life is just easier, and
it's like every day is a reminder.
That's a huge gift. To have an easy time in your home is a really big gift.
Well deserved, though. I mean, absolutely. So a day before the dedication, Gary surprised you and the whole family in the home. What was that like?
Hilarious to see the kids' reactions, first of all. It was just awesome. I mean, what's not to love about Gary, first of all? And just the fact that he wanted to be there for that, just the fact that he wanted to share in that moment with us was so heartfelt. It's obviously more than just a foundation to him with his name, like he genuinely cares about every family who he has affected. And we love him. Yeah. We love all of you here. I mean, again, we're just so immensely grateful. And we were so happy that he was there to share in that moment with us. Really happy to have that memory.
It was so special. And that wasn't the only surprise. He had a special surprise for you with the big check.
Oh, yeah. I was like, yeah, that was a surprise.
Yeah.
And so really funny story about that surprise. When I found out that there was a grant for first responders and services, I had brought it to our director, and I was like, hey, can we apply for this? Like, I, have always been wanting to do a training for like mass casualty, but there's obviously funding issues and things like that. I was like, let's apply for this. And he was like, okay. And it just seemed like every time I brought it up to him, I'm like, hey, where are we at in this process? And I was kind of giving him like a decent amount of grief. I had no idea that they had already done it.
They were like, mom's the word.
Yes. So
excuse me.
Even by the time Gary presented me with the check, I still didn't know in that moment. I was like, oh my God, I had to do the runaround just to get this. What is wrong with these people? And then I talked to my director, and obviously they came to the dedication, a lot of people from my service, and he was like, yeah, we knew. Yes, we didn't want to tell you. We didn't want to like spoil it for you. He was like, we wanted to surprise you. And I was like, I am so sorry for what a pain in the ass I must have been, because I was like, guys, why are we dragging our feet on this?
This is important.
This is great. Yeah, that was so awesome. It was so awesome.
Yeah. He wanted to show his appreciation to you too. Yeah. What inspired you to become an EMT?
I'm sure there are several things.
Yeah.
First of all, I come from a family of first responders. So I think that inclination was probably already there. But I really didn't envision myself in that role. I just didn't see it for me. I just didn't see myself that way. And then when Josh was hurt and I became his non-medical attendant, and you really don't know how strong you are until you have to be. And I think I recognized over the course of taking care of him and the things that I was actually very capable of doing.
Yeah.
And then just my massive amount of appreciation for his medics that were on the ground that night. I mean, I can't even talk about them without crying, but I've never been comfortable being the person in the room that could help but doesn't know how. And I think growing up the way that I did, I was always acutely aware of things can go wrong. My parents always taught me how to get out of bad situations. But I didn't have the knowledge to help somebody if I was in a situation where someone needed my help. And I felt like I could be that for somebody. That even if it was just a person to be kind to you for 20 minutes, that I have the ability to do whatever I set my mind to. And I came into it a little bit later. I think it gave me I had a little world, life experience and a little bit of maturity under my belt and 2 kids. So I think I probably approached it much more directly than maybe I would have if I had gone in when I was younger, gone into that. But yeah, I really felt like if you're capable of doing it, why wouldn't you do it? Kind of thing. And it's not for everybody. It's a weird job.
It's I would think stressful.
It's different, yeah. But I find that it's actually really good for me. I think because of what happened to Josh, I was always worried about the worst case scenario happening. And because I was home with the kids all the time, I was always waiting for the other shoe to drop, like with what happened with Josh. And it was really hard to quiet my mind. And unless you have an outlet for that, where that is the way you should be approaching things, that's really very difficult to live with. I think the anxiety of just waiting for the other shoe to drop. So I'm very appreciative that I did go into this line of work, because it's an outlet for me where that's actually a positive. It's a positive to say, what's the worst case scenario, work back from there, and how can I apply that? And yeah, there's several factors that led to me going in to try and do it, and I'm really glad I did, because I really enjoy it. I love the people I work with, and it's been a good fit for me, I think.
You're dang good at it. I mean, that's incredible that you took something that could be almost crippling in a way, and you like use that energy for something to give back, to serve.
Yeah, it was very difficult. Yeah. I think that anxiety post-injury, because I was worried about the worst thing happening, and then it almost did. Right. Anytime I would get worried, I would apply that and go, well, that's because it's about to happen. And if you don't have an outlet to apply that where it's, positive in some way, where you're getting something out of it, or using the critical thinking kind of goes out the window when your anxiety goes crazy because you're just at home. There's nothing wrong with the kids. There's nothing wrong right now. Everything's fine. You can be happy. You can be in this moment. And I just really didn't know how to do that for a very long time. It was unsettling, but I think I found my outlet for that.
Absolutely. So as you know, this podcast is in honor of Gary's son, Mac, who he lost in January of 2024. And Mac was just a vibrant is the right word I think of, a vibrant guy. And incredible drummer. He even drummed with his dad in the Lieutenant Dan band and performed for the troops. And as Mac's cancer progressed, so did Gary's level of caregiving. And Gary took his role as caregiver very seriously. He was an extraordinary caregiver, and a role you understand well. And it took a lot out of Gary, though. And so my question is what advice would you give to other spouses or family members who suddenly find themselves in the role of caregiver?
That's a good question. I think to give yourself and whoever you're caring for a lot of grace. To forgive yourself for the frustration or the fear or the anxiety, and to do your best to be in the moment and to be present, and to recognize that while it might not always be expressed in the way that you hope it is, that it's appreciated and that it's noticed. I think it can be a very difficult job, and it can feel very draining and thankless depending on who it is you're caring for and how you have to be there for them and how much support you have. But I think it's really important to reach out to people that can support you as well, because it is a really large burden to bear on your own, and you don't have to. As hard as it is to relinquish a little bit of control, sometimes you have to. Sometimes for you and the person you're caring for, you have to. And that at the end of the day, your goal is to just be there for that person, and you're doing it, and that's a lot, and that's enough.
Exactly. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast and sharing your story, and you are just such an inspiration, and I'm just so grateful for you for coming on. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
And as we do with every podcast episode, Mac will close out the show.
You've been listening to GSF Podcast, the official podcast of the Gary Sinise Foundation. If you'd like to find out more about what the foundation is up to, or if you'd like to make a donation, please visit GarySiniseFoundation.org. Make sure to tune in next time for more interviews, and thanks for joining us.